Let's bring in my panel now. Senior reporter Carolyn Marcus from Sydney and a very dapper tonight, political reporter Cam Redden here in Canberra. I'll get to why you're looking so dapper tonight. I don't think it's just because I've paid a visit to Canberra. I think we might have a midwinter ball on tonight,
I heard you were coming to town,
Peter. With... There you go. That's the right answer, isn't it? No, it's the midwinter ball for charity tonight. I want to go, if I can, to question time today. There is a political tussle about the narrative going on between the two major parties. This is about who has got primacy over dealing with cost of living. The opposition's trying to say the government's got a litany of broken promises. The government's putting it back on the opposition and saying, well, sure, but what are you going to do about the issue? So they're slugging it out at the moment. We know there's an election in the offing. But the statistics are not helping the government. Statistics out today in relation to new business insolvency show nearly 3,000 building companies went bust in the last financial year, largely due to cost blowouts, we're told, planning delays, labour shortages and red tape. Now, Caroline, we are in the middle of a housing crisis. If you would think one sector might actually be ahead financially, it would be construction. But these stats say they are the largest single category of insolvency. The government says we've got to have a new home built every 2 minutes. That's their target. It's certainly not going to happen before the election, is it?
It doesn't seem like it, Peter. And at this rate, Anthony Albanese is going to have to call in Tom Cruise because this is sounding like Mission Impossible to me. Look, housing affordability is such a massive issue, as well as people trying to find homes to rent, and with immigration levels going up and at a record high, this is not going to help address the issue at all. We know that there has been a 28% increase in insolvencies in the construction industry in the past financial year. That's according to ASIC. There's been a 40% blowout in construction costs, which of course is making it unsustainable for building companies. And on top of all of that, the number of Australians who are starting construction trade apprenticeships has dropped significantly in the past year. So the election promise that the government made to skill up more Australians so that they could address this issue is not being realised either. Far from it. All of this bodes very badly for the housing supply crisis that we're currently in.
I'll stay on housing, Cam. We saw last week in that deadly inflation data, housing remains a key driver, particularly rental costs. New numbers out today show the cost of renting a home's hit a new high. It hit the high last month, 3.2% for the quarter, a 10.3% jump for the 12 months to June. Now, every state almost across the board is failing to deliver these new homes as promised. We've got, as we just discussed, these construction businesses going bust. We've got the number of apprentices coming into the industry continuing to fall. Now, for all their talk, this is a huge metric on which Labor isn't delivering.
And the government is still adamant somehow, Peter, that it believes it's going to meet these targets, which you lay out those figures there. You just don't see how the numbers stack up that they're going to meet those targets. And that has to have political implications at some point. A third of Australians are renting, and the share of that part of the population that is drifting towards the Greens is only going up. I think the last news poll that measured it on that had about a third of renters voting for the Greens, which is a far larger proportion than pretty much any other section of society. At some point, and you look at those figures there, you think, well, this just comes down to basic numbers. At some point, all that really matters is how many houses we're building, how many people we've got to build them, and both of those figures are tracking way behind. When you look at figures like, I think it was 42,000 apprentices joined last year, young Australians, OK, great, we need more of them, but the estimate from many in the sector is we need more like 600,000 by the end of the decade. So it's a dent, but it's a really small one. And at some point, people, well, the frustration bubbles over, Peter, and 9 months from an election this far behind the targets, a lot of people that want a house can't get one, and if they can get one, they're spending so much that they're taking on loads of debt. It's a really difficult situation and not a slow one, not a quick one to fix.